The Soviet Union's collapse in 1991 left a complex legacy, particularly regarding its vast nuclear arsenal. Ukraine, once a Soviet republic, found itself in possession of a substantial portion of this deadly inheritance. This included approximately 1,900 strategic nuclear warheads, a number that dwarfed the arsenals of many established nuclear powers. Alongside these warheads, Ukraine also housed 176 intercontinental ballistic missiles and 44 strategic bombers, platforms capable of delivering these weapons across continents. This sudden and unexpected inheritance thrust Ukraine into a precarious position on the global stage. The presence of these weapons on Ukrainian soil immediately raised concerns in the West. The world watched with bated breath, uncertain of how Ukraine, a newly independent nation grappling with its own internal challenges, would manage this formidable arsenal. Memories of the Cold War and the ever-present threat of nuclear annihilation were still fresh in the minds of many. The situation was fraught with risk, demanding a delicate and diplomatic solution to avert potential catastrophe. The international community, particularly the United States and Russia, recognized the need for a swift and peaceful resolution. The specter of nuclear proliferation loomed large, with fears that these weapons could fall into the wrong hands. Ukraine, still finding its footing as a sovereign nation, faced a daunting task to secure its own safety while navigating the complex geopolitical landscape of a post-Soviet world. The fate of these weapons would become a central issue in the years following the collapse of the Soviet Union. The year 1994 marked a pivotal moment in Ukraine's post-Soviet journey. It was then that the Budapest Memorandum was signed, a document that would have profound implications for the nation's future. Under this agreement, Ukraine committed to transferring its entire nuclear arsenal to Russia for dismantlement. This decision, while significant, was not made without assurances. In exchange for relinquishing its nuclear capabilities, Ukraine received security guarantees from three major nuclear powers: Russia, the United States, and the United Kingdom. The Budapest Memorandum, at its core, was a pledge to respect and uphold Ukraine's sovereignty, independence, and existing borders. The signatory nations, including Russia, committed to refraining from the threat or use of force against Ukraine. This agreement, it was believed, would lay the foundation for a new era of peace and security in the region. The international community largely lauded the Budapest Memorandum as a triumph of diplomacy. It represented a concrete step towards nuclear non-proliferation, a goal shared by many nations in the aftermath of the Cold War. Ukraine, by relinquishing its nuclear arsenal, demonstrated its commitment to global peace and security. The agreement, however, hinged on a crucial factor: the good faith and adherence to its principles by all signatory nations, particularly Russia. The hope for lasting peace and security in the region, as envisioned by the Budapest Memorandum, proved to be short-lived. Russia, in a series of actions that sent shockwaves across the international community, blatantly violated the very principles it had pledged to uphold. In 2014, Russian forces annexed the Crimean Peninsula, a Ukrainian territory with a predominantly Russian-speaking population. This act of aggression marked a clear breach of Ukraine's sovereignty and territorial integrity, principles enshrined in the Budapest Memorandum. Russia's actions did not end with the annexation of Crimea. Moscow went further by providing military support to separatist groups in eastern Ukraine, fueling a conflict that would claim thousands of lives and displace countless civilians. The Budapest Memorandum, once seen as a guarantor of peace, now lay in tatters, its promises broken by the very nation that had pledged to uphold them. The year 2022 witnessed a further escalation of the crisis, shattering any remaining illusions of Russia's commitment to the Budapest Memorandum. In February of that year, Russia launched a full-scale invasion of Ukraine, marking a dramatic escalation of the conflict. This act of aggression was met with widespread international condemnation, but it also raised uncomfortable questions about the effectiveness of international agreements and the consequences of broken promises. The 2022 invasion of Ukraine sparked a wave of introspection and regret among some Ukrainian officials. Many looked back at the decision to relinquish their nuclear arsenal with a sense of bitterness, questioning whether retaining those weapons could have altered the course of events. Alexei Goncharenko, a Ukrainian member of parliament, voiced a sentiment shared by many when he lamented the lack of upheld guarantees from the West. The Budapest Memorandum, he argued, had failed to protect Ukraine from Russian aggression. The debate over whether nuclear weapons could have deterred Russia's actions is complex and multifaceted. Some argue that the possession of such weapons would have given Russia pause, forcing them to reconsider their actions given the potential for catastrophic consequences. The deterrent effect of nuclear weapons, they argue, lies in the fear of retaliation, a fear that could have compelled Russia to seek alternative solutions to its grievances. Others, however, caution against oversimplifying the situation. They argue that Russia, itself a nuclear power, might not have been deterred by Ukraine's possession of such weapons. The Kremlin, they contend, might have calculated that the West, fearing a wider nuclear conflict, would be hesitant to intervene militarily even if Ukraine possessed nuclear weapons. This school of thought views Russia's actions as driven by a broader geopolitical calculus, one in which Ukraine's nuclear status might have played a secondary role. The debate over Ukraine's decision to relinquish its nuclear arsenal is likely to continue for years to come. It serves as a stark reminder of the complexities of international relations, the fragility of agreements, and the enduring challenges of maintaining peace and security in a world where the threat of conflict remains an ever-present reality.